Hello. So Natco Pharma's latest earnings, that is earnings for quarter one fiscal year 2026, they have been long out. The earnings were not good. And today we are going to look into these earnings and the reasons for why these earnings were not good. All right, so let's go right into it. So first, how are the financials looking? Here we have the consolidated profit and loss statement. Again, we're going to compare quarter one fiscal year 2026 earnings to quarter one fiscal year 2025 earnings. So 12 months difference. All these figures are in INR, that is rupees, in millions of rupees, okay? Or thousands of crores in this case. So, as a comparison, total revenue is given as 13,906 rupees million of rupees. That's 1390 crore rupees. But we are going to say millions. So first we have revenue. Revenue declined, a slight decline from 14,107 million rupees to 13,906 million rupees. So revenue declined slightly, but total expenses increased to 757 crore rupees or 7,579 million INR from 5,578 million INR 12 months ago. So EBITDA, okay, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization decreased massively from 8,500 million INR, that is 850 crores, to 630 crores. Massive decrease. Now EBITDA margin is still 45.5%. Like for pharma business, that's great. For any kind of business, that's great. But 60% was last quarter, so again a decline. 60% is amazing EBITDA margin though for like a pharma business. Yeah, must have been kind of exceptional. But moving down, we see that profit before tax again declined from 800 crores to 570 crores, bringing us to a profit after tax of 480 crores as compared to 668 crores last quarter. The PAT margin, the profit after tax margin, declined to 34.5% this quarter. Still a great PAT or profit after tax. So these were the earnings. Revenue decreased, expenses increased, EBITDA decreased, profit after tax decreased, the profit after tax margin also decreased. Then revenue declined by segment. Revenue declined by segment. Here it's extremely clear for one thing, okay? First, let's see the revenues. Here we have formulations, exports, and formulations domestic. So formulations again are simply drugs or medicines. Formulation exports means drugs sold to outside countries, and that is the biggest source of Natco's revenue. Like drugs sold to US, drugs sold to rest of the world other than India. So this business experienced pricing pressure. Pricing pressure was experienced in the international business. Okay. So revenues declined from 12,101 million INR to 11,265 INR, uh, sorry, exports business. But the domestic business, the domestic drug business, actually increased by 50 million INR. That is from 1,022 million INR or rupees to 1,070 million INR. So, okay, slight increase in the domestic business. Then, other than drugs, it has one more segment, the crop health science. Crop health science, this is the agrochemical, you can say, the agrochemical business. Here, revenue increased by doubled from 156 million INR, that is, I believe, 15 crore rupees, to 34.7 crore rupees. So, big increase in the crop health science. As the name suggests, crop health, so agrochemical business basically. And then we have other operating and non-operating income, like selling of APIs, that is active pharmaceutical ingredients, then money earned on deposits, right? Money earned, again, interest earned on deposits, All right, stuff like that. As you can see, API, so selling active pharmaceutical ingredients, that kind of stuff. Other operating and non-operating income also increased to 69.8 crores. So overall, that was the revenue. Main thing, the US business, that is the rest of world, international business experienced a decline. Now, here we looked at the basic figures. Let's go a bit deeper, okay, and see what management what management had to say. So what we're going to do is go into, yes, Natco Farmers latest con call, earnings conference call. Basically, if you don't know what this means, earnings conference call is a meeting where the management of the company, with the CFO, the CEO of the company, okay, they come and they have a meeting with shareholders where shareholders can ask them questions about the company. All right. Here we have Mr. Rajiv Nannapaneni. He's the vice chairman and the CEO of this company. And Mr. Rajesh Chebium, who is the executive vice president of the Crop Health Sciences division of Natco Pharma. All right, so important questions were asked and a lot of details were given. So here, this is said by the CEO. Okay, the CEO of the business said in the black, okay, in the black lines, during the quarter, the business faced pricing pressure in the US product portfolio and incurred increased research and development expenses on account of high value projects. So basically, pricing pressure, uh, pricing pressure basically means for its products, right? The prices had a decrease basically because the thing is, right, in the US, they have one very important drug. Natco's most important product or drug right now is Revlimid. Revlimid. Okay, I believe it's a cancer drug. I'm not sure. It's a drug, and it contributes around 30 something percent of the revenue, 30 per something percent of the profits, and it's facing pricing pressure. Okay, so that was the pricing pressure in the US product portfolio. Other is they are having higher research and development expenditure. So it's a pharmaceutical company. It needs to spend money on R&D expenses so that it can develop new drugs. So they're increasing R&D expenses. One reason to mention, okay, it's important that the Revlimid is Revlimid drug, right? It currently has a patent, and under this patent, the company who has the patent right allows a few other companies like Zydus, Dr. Reddy, Sun Pharma, Natco, and a few others to sell generic versions of Revlimid. Or no, to sell Revlimid, they're allowed to sell some Revlimid in the US, even under this patent. But this patent expires in January of 2026. So when this patent expires, all other companies will be allowed to like launch generic products of Revlimid. So this Revlimid product, which contributes around 30% of the profits and revenues of Natco, it will decline almost instantly after this patent expires. So Natco Pharma is expecting a 20% drop in revenue and 30% drop in profits next year. That's a 30% drop in profits next year because Revlimid is about to be insignificant for them. So let's continue with this con call. They gave more information. All right. They gave more information. Now, here he asks, this is a question by a shareholder. The shareholder asks, I had a question on Revlimid. Just wanted to know, is the Revlimid contribution this quarter broadly in line with the last quarter, or is it higher? And should we expect a higher contribution in quarter one? He's asking contribution from Revlimid, revenue and profit contribution. Answer by CEO is that we don't do a split. So they don't actually tell how much revenue comes from Revlimid, but I think it's been consistent. We expect it will continue into September quarter, and I think post September quarter we won't see much. It will be a decline in is what our expectation is. So Revlimid again, there's a patent for Revlimid right now. Under this patent, some companies are allowed to sell some amount of Revlimid other than the one who holds the patent. Okay, so Natco can only sell a certain amount of Revlimid drug, and post September quarter, they don't have much of Revlimid available. So post September, the earnings will decline drastically. All right. The question is again, the question continues. So it would be fair to assume that large part of our quota Again, quota for producing how much Revlimid will be exhausted in the first half only. First half, first half of the year, the 6 months, the first 6 months, okay, quarter one and quarter two of a fiscal year. Answer by CEO is that I think yes, most of our earnings will be captured in the first half, and first half meaning end of September quarter. So that's the thing. Most of the earnings will be captured in the first half. Now, this is important because it explains the earnings situations a bit more clearly. The question is, sir, while you said that Revlimid, the contribution was consistent this quarter, but have you seen a bigger erosion? But have you seen a bigger erosion compared to quarter four or the previous quarter? And that is impacting our overall EBITDA margin. And also related to that, I want to know that in the press release, when you said the business was seeing pricing pressure in the US, apart from Revlimid also, are you seeing any other pricing pressure in some other products? All right. So it's basically asking that two things. First is Revlimid. He said that the erosion in Revlimid, the erosion in the price of Revlimid, was that bigger this quarter? And second thing, he's asking that other than Revlimid, are they seeing pricing pressure in other US products? That's he's asking two questions. Okay, that are the two questions. Any other pricing pressure in any other US product? And second, how bad is the price decrease in Revlimid? So the answer is, I think we are seeing pricing pressure on Revlimid, of course. I think that's the reason why there's been a dip. Are we seeing pressure in other products? They have been stable, but we also had, fortunately, other launches that have happened. That has also contributed to our profit. So overall, the other business has been stable. I mean, there's been an increase in the sales, but that business has been stable. But yes, Revlimid has seen a decline. So Revlimid drug, before the patent, it's seeing a decline in because of pricing. Okay, a lot of companies are there, so prices are going down for Revlimid. But other business in the US, other products in the US, they say have been stable. Okay. Question by question. Important, important. Okay. And my second question is related to the crop health science department. Okay. Crop health agrochemicals. This time we have seen a good pickup. So how is the demand picking up? And are we on track to achieve that 140 to 150 crores of sale for this quarter? So their target is 140 to 150 crores of sales for the crop health sciences department. That's the target. Answer by management, answer by the CEO says, I think we had a good start and got good receivable money from customers basically. I think things are settling down. We think that the sale will continue. We are still losing money. I think we lost about 3.242 crores. Wait, they made 34 crores and they lost 3.2 crores. Okay. So I think we are coming very close to break even. We're almost there. I think we are doing well. Okay. CEO says, I think the crop health department is doing well and they're very close to break even. All right. No losses, no profits, break even. It's currently in losses. So nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now, here's a statement. He says that all the businesses which are sold outside India are generic businesses, and the India business is mostly the brand business. Otherwise, outside is mostly generic. So, India business is branded business, branded drugs, and outside business, international is generic drugs. All right, all right. So, again, decline in net profit. The main reason is pricing pressure in Revlimid. Revlimid has seen a price decrease. That's the major thing that has impacted the profitability. All right, all right. So, I think we only have a few more things to say here. Here, said by management. Okay, management says this. We have taken a substantial stake in the second largest company in South Africa. The second largest pharmaceutical company in South Africa, Adcock Ingram. They have taken a stake in this company. All right. They have spent 2000 crores on this company to diversify our earnings. All right. So they currently own around 35% shareholder, 35%, what do you say, of the total Adcock Ingram shares, you can say. So they own 35% of the company. We believe over a period of time, this will represent a significant part of our earnings base in the coming years. I would believe that South Africa will easily be about 15 to 25% of our base earnings. Wow. Okay. So what are base earnings? Basically, earnings of Natco Pharma after you remove Revlimid. So Revlimid revenue gone, Revlimid profits gone. Whatever is left behind, that's the base earnings. And he believes, the CEO believes, that a South African acquisition they just made will easily be 15 to 25% of base earnings. All right, 15 to 25% of base earnings. Then finally, I think we have only few more things. Question asked by a shareholder. Okay, shareholder asks, I have a question. So on the Adcock Ingram, Adcock is the acquisition, a South African company. They acquired 35% of. Reading. You also indicated that it could be 15 to 25% of base earnings. When you say base earnings, you're referring to the cumulative PAT of Natco closing fiscal year 25. And if you could give us some idea of what Adcock has had. Okay. He's saying that this 15 to 25%, now management said this. Now, this is the one we're going to read now is management. It is profit after tax for fiscal year 2027. All right. I'm assuming a scenario where Revlimid has gone. I'm only assuming all our earnings are without Revlimid and I'm assuming for the next financial year, not this financial year. So I think that's it. That's it. These base earnings are without Revlimid. Are without Revlimid. Okay. South African business will be 20 to 25% without Revlimid of base earnings. Last thing, this drug, Umaldomide. Umaldomide is a drug. They say they have got full approval. Natco Pharma has full approval for this drug, but they don't have the clarity on the launch date. But they have full approval from Umaldomide, Umaldomide drug. They have full approval. So that's it. That's all the con calls. That's all the earnings. And for Narco Pharma, they are on time or they're on track. They think they're going to launch their semaglutide. They're a kind of Ozempic generic in India this year. I believe this year they're going to release their this year or early next year they're going to release their generic version of Ozempic in India, and in the 2031 2032 they will release a generic version of Ozempic in USA. That's the growth opportunities for Natco, I guess. Ozempic is a big drug, but 2032 is the US thing, and India will be 2026. The launch of Ozempic generic. I think they have come into an agreement. They're waiting on the judgment of a high court case right now, but they believe it's going to be in their favor. So that's it for Natco. Not the best earnings, but they're spending way more on research and development. And Natco, you know, interesting business. Two blockbuster drugs in the past. One was Revlimid, one was another drug that boosted the earnings significantly. So it would be interesting to see if they can do it for a third time with, again, semaglutide, that is the Ozempic generic. Can they have a third blockbuster drug with the Ozempic generic in the US? Let's see. All right, that's it. Hope you have a nice day. This is not financial advice.